Quickly cut across to this press conference of Major General Narula, who is briefing the media.
And opening of passes. Operations like Nogam, where 4 terrorists were neutralized on 20th and 21st of May, are such instances. This calls for even more proactive counter-terrorism operations. We want peace and tranquility in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. For this purpose, it is essential that the infiltrations along line of control are controlled, which is essential to bring down the number of terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir, so that youth of Jammu and Kashmir are not adversely influenced by terrorists from across. A recent action by our troops in Nowshera sector has caused some damage to Pak army posts which are supporting infiltrations. This is part of our overall strategy to counter terrorism. Thank you.
Sir, what is the location of these cross terror strikes which you are saying? At terrorist, what is the location? Can you give a location?
Nowshera. भारतीय सेना के काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटजी के तहत एलसी पर प्यूनिटिव फायर असॉल्ट किए जाते हैं। पाकिस्तानी सेना सशस्त्र आतंकवादियों की मदद करता रहता है और इस दौरान वह हमारे अग्रिम सेना पोस्टों को अपने चौकियों और बंकरों की मदद से एंगेज करता रहता है। कई बार वो ऐसा करते हुए हमारे गांवों को भी नुकसान पहुंचा देते हैं। हमारे काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटजी के अंतर्गत हम यह यकीन करते हैं कि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन को बंद करें और ऐसा करने के लिए हम एलसी को समय समय पर डोमिनेट करते रहते हैं। इस दौरान इस इलाके और पोस्ट जो आतंकवादियों को इन्फिल्ट्रेशन में मदद करते हैं उसे नुकसान पहुंचाया जाता है ताकि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन के अवसर कम से कम किए जा सकें। बर्फ़ पिघलने और पासेस के खुलने से इन्फिल्ट्रेशन के बढ़ने की आशंका है। हाल ही में हुए नौगाम के ऑपरेशन में जो 20 और 21 मई को हुआ था, जहां 4 आतंकवादियों को मारा गया था, इस आशंका को दर्शाते हैं। इसलिए आवश्यक है कि हम काउंटर टेररिज्म ऑपरेशन को और सफल और सशक्त कर सकें। हम कश्मीर में अमन और शांति चाहते हैं। इस समय आवश्यकता है कि एलसी से इन्फिल्ट्रेशन को नियंत्रित में किया जाए और ताकि टेररिस्ट की संख्या कम से कम हो और जे.एंड.के के युवा गलत राह पर ना चले। हमारे हाल ही की कार्रवाई में जो कि नौशेरा सेक्टर में हुआ है, उसमें पाकिस्तान पोस्ट को नुकसान पहुंचाया गया है और जो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन में सपोर्ट करते हैं, ये हमारे काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटजी का एक हिस्सा है। धन्यवाद। रिसेंट, वेरी रिसेंट।
सर, वो जो ATGM वाला था, इज दैट ATGM? देयर वाज अ वीडियो व्हिच शोड ATGM डिस्ट्रॉयिंग अ पाकिस्तानी पोस्ट। इज दैट द ऑपरेशन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट?
अब देख लीजिएगा अलग।
विल यू गिव द वीडियो?
वीडियो मैं आपको उस पे डाल रहा हूँ, ग्रुप के ऊपर डाल रहा हूँ। अभी कर देंगे साथ साथ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
मेजर का जो मामला था उस पर टेल मी योर ईमेल आईडी।
सर बट देयर इज
जी है ना, चलो अभी वो भी यही से
जिसने मांगा था
All right, that was Major General Ashok Narula. They're briefing the media about the increasing attempts made by Pakistan to infiltrate on the Indian side. After the summers have come, the snow is melting. That, he said, is now proving to be one of the factors because of which increasing number of attempts of the terrorists from across the border are trying to cross over to India. The army, the Major General also, in fact, briefing the media about the counter-infiltration, counter-terror operations the army is engaged in. He also very bluntly said that Pakistan forward posts and bunkers are in business of trying to help the terrorists by giving them cover fire to cross over towards the Indian side.
Influenced by terrorists from across. A recent action by our, which is essential to bring down the number of terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir, so that youth of Jammu and Kashmir are not adversely influenced by terrorists from across. A recent action by our troops in Nowshera sector has caused some damage to Pak army posts which are supporting infiltrations. This is part of our overall strategy to counter terrorism. Thank you.
Sir, what is the location of these cross-terror strikes which you're saying? At terrorist, what are the locations? Can you give a location?
Nowshera. भारतीय सेना के काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटजी के तहत एलसी पर प्यूनिटिव फायर असॉल्ट किए जाते हैं। पाकिस्तानी सेना सशस्त्र आतंकवादियों की मदद करता रहता है और इस दौरान वह हमारे अग्रिम सेना पोस्टों को अपने चौकियों और बंकरों की मदद से एंगेज करता रहता है। कई बार वो ऐसा करते हुए हमारे गांवों को भी नुकसान पहुंचा देते हैं। हमारे काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटजी के अंतर्गत हम यह यकीन करते हैं कि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन को बंद करें और ऐसा करने के लिए हम एलसी को समय समय पर डोमिनेट करते रहते हैं। इस दौरान इस इलाके और पोस्ट जो आतंकवादियों को इन्फिल्ट्रेशन में मदद करते हैं उसे नुकसान पहुंचाया जाता है ताकि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन के अवसर कम से कम किए जा सके। बर्फ पिघलने और पासेस के खुलने से इन्फिल्ट्रेशन के बढ़ने की आशंका है। हाल ही में हुए नौगाम के ऑपरेशन में जो 20 और 21 मई को हुआ था, जहां 4 आतंकवादियों को मारा गया था, इस आशंका को दर्शाते हैं। इसलिए आवश्यक है कि हम काउंटर टेररिज्म ऑपरेशन को और सफल और सशक्त कर सके। हम कश्मीर में अमन और शांति चाहते हैं। इस समय आवश्यकता है कि एलसी से इन्फिल्ट्रेशन को नियंत्रित में किया जाए और ताकि टेररिस्ट की संख्या कम से कम हो और जे&के के युवा गलत राह पर ना चले। हमारे हाल ही की कार्रवाई में जो कि नौशेरा सेक्टर में हुआ है, उसमें पाकिस्तान पोस्ट को नुकसान पहुंचाया गया है और जो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन में सपोर्ट करते हैं, ये हमारे काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटजी का एक हिस्सा है। धन्यवाद। रिसेंट, वेरी रिसेंट।
Sir, वो जो ATGM वाला था, is that ATGM? There was a video which showed ATGM destroying a Pakistani post. Is that the operation you are talking about?
अब देख लीजिएगा अलग है।
Will you give the video, sir?
वीडियो मैं आपको उस पे डाल रहा हूँ, ग्रुप के ऊपर डाल रहा हूँ। अभी कर देंगे साथ साथ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
All right, let me now go across to my colleague Shiv Arur, who is joining me from the newsroom for more on this. Shiv, a punitive action, aggressive posturing there by the Indian army, also coming out and saying that they have punished Pakistani posts in the Nowshera sector, which have been aiding and abetting a terrorist in crossing over towards Indian side. All right, let me just once again go across to Shiv Arur. Shiv, if you can hear me, Indian army coming out, outlining an aggressive posture, saying that they have, engaged in punitive action on Pakistani post, engaged in infiltrating and helping terrorists cross over to Indian side in Nowshera sector.
That's correct, Ankit. A very big development where the Army's Major General Ashok Narula, who's the Additional Directorate General of Public Information, a very senior officer, has come out and formally briefed journalists about a punitive strike by the Indian Army in the Nowshera area of Rajouri district. This orange line you see is the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir, and this is where the the punitive strike has taken place. It was not a surgical strike, but this was a retaliatory firing by the Indian Army in positions in Nowshera sector of the line of control, where a Pakistani bunker and some Pakistani posts have apparently been destroyed. We're currently waiting for some video footage that the army is going to be sharing officially with us, like Major General Narula just revealed. That video will be put out first here on India Today, and apparently depicts the destruction of some Pakistani bunkers and Pakistani posts. Remember, a few days ago, there had been a video that was, erroneously broadcast by the media as being, punitive action for the beheadings of 2 Indian soldiers in the Krishna Ghati sector, which is just north of Rajouri in the Poonch sector of the line of control. But it is our understanding that today's punitive strikes, even though not explicitly labeled as retaliatory strikes for the beheadings, will be seen as precisely that. We can perhaps look at what has happened today and what has been revealed by the army today as being retaliatory attacks for the beheadings that took place in the Krishna Ghati sector. What the army, through Major General Narula, have just revealed on national media, on camera and live here on India Today, is that the army has avenged the attacks in the Krishna Ghati sector, in which a border action team mutilated and beheaded 2 Indian army soldiers. Remember, over the weekend up north here in the Kupwara sector, in the Naugam sector, there has been a very, very big infiltration bid and an encounter in which 4 terrorists were killed by a very brave team of the Rashtriya Rifles. Tragically, 3 Indian army soldiers also died fighting those terrorists. But this particular punitive attack has taken place further south, just north of Jammu, in the Nowshera sector along the line of control, not very far from where the line of control actually begins. And this has been to teach Pakistan a lesson. It has destroyed a certain bunker from where ceasefire violations have taken place. Remember, the Indian Army always says retaliatory attacks of any kind will always be conducted at a time and place of India's choosing, and that appears to have been the case this time around, Ankit.
Absolutely. And Shiv, after that announcement of that big surgical strike that India had conducted, this is possibly the second time this sort of a briefing has taken place by the army. If you could tell us, are there any reports from the Pakistani side, and what your sources are saying about the kind of damage we have inflicted on the Pakistani posts?
Ankita, what we can tell you is that this operation took place on the 20th, on the 21st of May. Over 2 days is the information that we're getting. And we can also confirm that, a video footage, a small video clip, as well as some photographs are going to be officially released just moments from now by the Indian Army. So we're going to have a visual reference of what this is all about. Remember, on April the 17th, there had been some bunker busting videos that were released by the army, that were erroneously attributed to another operation. So this will be the first time that the army will be officially releasing, data of any kind, visual or otherwise, Ankit, of a retaliatory strike in which bunkers and Pakistan army posts have been totally destroyed as a result of sharpshooting by the Indian army, using mortars, using rocket launchers and other weapons at their disposal in those areas. We have to still find out what exactly has been destroyed in this. Remember, the army has taken pains in the past to clarify on certain reports that have talked about bunker busting and retaliatory strikes of this kind. But the reason why today is really momentous, Ankit, is because the army have themselves invited the media and briefed them on the record through a senior officer like Major General Narula, who heads the Directorate of Public Information for the army, to talk about these punitive strikes. He did sound, a note of peace, saying that India wants peace in the line of control. It wants everything possible in such a way that action is lowered along the line of control. But that is a very, very dire warning to Pakistan. It's a velvet glove, but it's an iron fist with which the army has been talking. They've said, we want peace in the line of control, but this is what you're asking for if you try any funny business with India.
Shiv, what we are also learning is that about a 30-second video is what we are expecting to be released by the army. If you could also tell our viewers, as you were saying that it happened on 20th of this month, of the entire terrain of this area, how difficult is an operation like this, and what sort of weaponry possibly Indian Army would have used to punish Pakistani posts engaged in helping the terrorists infiltrate onto the Indian side?
You know, these are summer months, Ankit, so, before the onset of winter, the weather is not too bad in this area, even though this is still at an altitude south of the Pir Panjal. The Nowshera sector is a mountainous region. It is a medium altitude region, so it's definitely not an easy place to function. There are forested highlands in this area in which Indian Army positions are, and they're in an eyeball-to-eyeball situation with Pakistan Army posts. Remember, just north of Rajouri sector is the Poonch sector, which is considered one of the highways, for terrorism and infiltration. That's a place where many border action teams, have infiltrated into India. In just a couple of minutes, we will have that video on our screens here on India Today of that bunker busting as well, that retaliatory action by India. But in these areas, the Indian Army deploys rocket launchers. They've even got a couple of tanks that conduct stationary firing. They've got heavy machine guns. They've got snipers. They've got mortars and rocket launchers. Okay, I understand that just in a short moment from now, we're going to have that video on our screens in just a moment, Ankit, where we'll be able to show our viewers precisely what the army has done in Nowshera sector. This is historic.
Oh yes, we are just waiting for that video to be put up, in fact, on our screens for our viewers. The army has conducted punitive strike on Pakistan. Shiv, if you could, also tell us now, post this punitive strike, of course, the entire region must be on an heightened alert. Pakistan would try and retaliate. What sort of measures is the army taking now?
Difficult to tell at this point of time, Ankit, but I can tell you that, along the line of control in this season of ceasefire violations and actions by the border action team, of the Pakistan Army, which is a hybrid group of both Pakistan commandos, special forces, as well as terrorists of the Lashkar-e-Taiba or the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Indian Army can leave absolutely nothing to chance. And that is the reason why, actions of this kind, where the army is officially revealing strategic actions of this kind across the line of control, where they've been able to damage and completely blow to smithereens, a handful of Pakistani posts in the restive Nowshera sector, is a very big deal. Two things here, Ankit, that are unignorable. A, that the army is employing a very, very aggressive posture as enunciated by the Modi government, that, no actions by the Pakistan side will be ignored. India will retaliate at a time and place of its choosing. Two, and even more importantly, like we saw from last year when the surgical strikes were announced, Ankit, is that the Indian Army will not shy away from talking about the operations and telling the world about the humiliation that the Pakistan Army is being put under on the line of control as a result of this. Take a look at the video, Ankit. Here you've got the video on your screen right now. A very dramatic video of the bunker busting that's taking place in the Nowshera sector. This video, first and exclusive here on India Today, gives you a sense of precisely what the Indian Army has been able to do. This message, a very strong message to Pakistan, depicts the bombardment that the Indian Army has employed in the Nowshera sector and wrought a very sharp amount of damage on Pakistani posts. These are those video clips. Take a look at those video clips that are there on your screen right now. This is from the Nowshera sector.
Screen that you are seeing as of now of the Indian Army's punitive strike on Pakistani posts. Dramatic visuals these. You can see how in India's precise firing, you can see this big ball of dust that has come through. This signifies how the post of Pakistan, the Pakistani post, has completely been destroyed in the firing from the Indian side. This video has been released by the Indian Army. Pakistan has a habit, Shiv, of, whenever India claims of such strikes, of lying to their teeth, denying any such action happening. This is a proof now that Indian Army has put across.
Absolutely, Ankit. And I just want to read out the full statement that's come in from the Indian Army of what they've just revealed. And it's, as usual, first and exclusive here on India Today. Take a look at the statement. Infiltrations are likely to increase with melting of snow and opening of passes. Operations like Nowgam, where 4 terrorists were neutralized on 20 to 21st May, are the instances. This calls for even more proactive counter-terrorism operations. We want peace and tranquility in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. For this purpose, it is essential that the infiltrations along the line of control are controlled, which is essential to bring down the number of terrorists in J&K so that the youth of J&K are not adversely influenced by terrorists from across. A recent action by our troops in the Nowshera sector has caused some damage to the Pak Army posts which are supporting infiltrations. This is part of our overall strategy to counter terrorism. It doesn't get more explicit than that, Ankit. A very direct, no-nonsense message from the Indian Army saying, we've destroyed Pakistan Army posts in Nowshera sector. Here's the video evidence of this. Here's the video, visual proof of Indian Army heavy weapons completely blowing into smithereens a Pak Army post in the Nowshera sector. Now, whether this is direct retaliation for what happened in the Krishna Ghati sector a few weeks ago, where Indian Army soldiers were beheaded, or for the other infiltrations that have been taking place as summer peaks along the line of control, is not known just now. But what we do know, Ankit, is that the video on our screens that India Today has the longest version of. Everybody else is playing a small version of this video. We've got the full video because the Indian Army has shared with us, and us alone here on India Today provides the full span, the full look of what the Indian Army's positions on the line of control have been able to do to Pakistan Army positions in the Nowshera sector. One final addition, Ankit, and this is very important. Remember, the Pakistan Army positions in Nowshera and Poonch are extremely well equipped. They're very highly equipped because these are 2 locations from which infiltrations happen in a very big way. Infiltrations are very heavy. They're called highways for infiltration and terrorism. Border action teams have been noticed in these areas a lot. Terror training camps exist, in the Bhimber sector, in the other sectors, which are across the line of control from the Nowshera, Rajouri, Poonch areas. So these are extremely active, fortified, well-equipped areas that the Indian Army has actually targeted across the Nowshera sector of the line of control. So the video that we're looking at has to be seen in that perspective. These are posts that frequently hit back very hard. These are posts that frequently provide covering fire for the infiltration of terrorists. And it is these posts, Ankit, that the Indian Army has chosen to target to send out one of its most powerful messages since the surgical strikes of September 29, 2016.
A very strong message has been sent there. You can see these visuals here. You can see this, as Shiv was describing, a full concrete bunker, a structure there, raised to the ground by the firing from the Indian side. First, a strike on here, and then at the back, completely raising this concrete structure to the ground. A well-equipped, a well-made Pakistan post destroyed in retaliatory fire from the Indian side. A punitive action for this post, which engages in actively trying to give cover fire to terrorists, those who infiltrate on the Indian side. So not only the Indian Army is as of now engaged in operations on the line of control on our side of the terrorists, those who have sneaked in to flush them out, to eliminate those terrorists, but Pakistan Army posts are also paying a heavy price for indulging in the kind of cover fire, in the kind of cover that they give, the help that they give to terrorists being sneaked or being thrown onto the Indian side. Shiv, after this a video of the Indian Army has released, what sort of reactions are we picking up, especially from the Pakistani side? It seems they have completely gone silent on this.
I'm expecting them. That's a very good question, Ankit, because as you and I both know, Pakistan will typically go silent for a while. There will be, a sense of disbelief, and then they will try and discredit the operation, saying nothing has happened, there is no damage. Please prove to us where this damage has taken place. This is a doctored video. On the other hand, what they might do is say that India's counter-strike has actually killed Pakistani civilians, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. A variety of different excuses that are always used by Pakistan, to try and save face in, when when it encounters this kind of public humiliation. Now, remember, there is on the one side of it, there is something called warmongering, which sometimes the media is accused of. On the other hand, an institution like the army, which faces the bullets on the line of control every single day, are brave soldiers who are there, who risk their lives, standing guard for the country every single day, stand there facing those ceasefire violations, facing those sniper bullets and rockets, facing border action teams that come there and behead them. They stand there without question, Ankit. And what the army has really showcased today is the political will that is behind it to conduct retaliatory operations of this kind, and also the permission to flaunt it before the world. This has never happened in the past before. We've seen a great deal of timidness, in the system to actually talk about India's strength, to showcase India's strength. This appears to suggest that the government is fully behind the army in two ways, not just in actually hitting back at Pakistan when it is provoked, but also telling the world and the country about it, also informing India's citizens that, look, here are the men who protect you, and this is what we're allowing them to do, and we will never fear talking about it in public. It's a message both to India as well as to Pakistan, Ankit.
Chief, that is the change in the strategy as far as the new government and the new regime and the top brass of the army is concerned. We kept hearing during the UPA rule as well that punitive strikes were done, or the posts which engage in this sort of pushing terrorists onto the Indian side are punished. But to come out with a video like this, for the army senior officers to come out, brief the media, sends a very strong message that we are going to hit you and we are going to tell the entire world of the kind of operations that you are engaging in.
Absolutely, Ankit, you've hit the nail on the head. It's a very well-considered, well-thought-out kind of strategy. This isn't a mistake. This isn't some kind of thing that's been done in a hurry. Remember, the mutilation of Indian Jawans took place a few weeks ago, Ankit. It's not like India retaliated immediately. It waited a few weeks. When the Indian army says we will retaliate at a time and place of our choosing, they really mean that. It's, the army cannot be run on social media. The army is certainly not run by television media or news. The army is an institution that is a professional fighting force that does not work on emotions. At the end of the day, at the unit level, when soldiers are killed, when they lose their lives fighting terrorists, it is a very emotional moment for units. But for the army as an institution, this is a profession. This is a duty where they have to protect the sovereignty of India, and they do it without emotions governing their actions, and that's why they waited a few weeks.
I'm interrupting you here. We are joined by Major Shankar Prasad on the broadcast. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to us. This video that is on our screens right now of the punitive strike by the Indian Army on Pakistani posts in Nowshera sector, which have been giving cover fire to terrorists when they sneak in towards Indian side, shows the resolve of the Indian army to not only eliminate this side of the border, but teach lesson to Pakistani posts which engage in acts like these.
Well, yes, this is an ongoing process. This happens from time to time. The environment today has become very hostile. It is these kind of activities which you just narrated have been happening time and time again. And therefore, these are all called fire assaults. And so the Indian Army does make a plan time to time and then unleashes these plans at sectors which they think they are very sure about getting maximum benefit out of the number of rounds that are fired. So the videos that are being shown today, I do not know what is the date of these videos, but the fact is that Indian Army does have the capability to put across a very strong and a very powerful fire assault. And this is one such fire assault. This is, they've released a video today, which is a good thing. You see, today, in the world of information, everybody wants to know. The television channels incite and excite the people to say something is happening, but we're not too sure because we're really not too sure. Therefore, from time to time, the army has decided to have these press conferences where they inform through the help of the television and other media channels as to what is going on. And I think every citizen does wish to know whenever any incident occurs, whether it's inside Kashmir or elsewhere, or whether it's across the line of control. Today, the people want to have information, and this is one way.
Yes.
The ADGPI, which is Additional Director General of the Public Information, does these meetings and conferences and releases.
Lieutenant General Prasad, you're saying that, of course, it is very important in this time and age to put this information out. But, this is something that the Indian Army has been doing, not only today, but they have been doing it for a very long time as far as the LoC is concerned. But sending out a message like this, not only for the people of India, that the army is proactively doing their job, they are there, punishing Pakistani posts for what they do, but it is also a message being sent across the border not to engage. India is not going to let go. India is not going to relent if Pakistan continues pushing terrorists on our side.
Well, showing videos in a public media in India does not have any effect on Pakistan. Pakistan only understands the effect that it has on them. This media video is going to have no effect on them. They couldn't care less. What they get worried about when they actually get a bashing. So whether we destroy one bunker and show it in the video or destroy 5 bunkers and show it in the video is not so important. What is important is that Pakistan must feel the damage. Pakistan must feel that they've been hit, and they've been hit hard. Therefore, these videos are not really meant for Pakistan. Pakistan needs to be taught a lesson on the face of it. So videos are all right for people to generally get the information, but the taste of the pudding and its eating. So you've got to beat the hell out of these guys to see that they get the message right. So Pakistan may not be so worried about seeing the video, but they certainly needs to be taught a good lesson with a heavy hand. That's what I'm trying to say.
Tell our viewers, the importance of operations like these. What we are seeing on the video is a concrete structure, which is, a bomb which is hammered again and again till the time it completely comes to the ground. How important are these? Operations, and what sort of a preparation the army or the local unit does before a strike like this can be mounted?
Well, a lot of preparation is required. There is, you've got to first of all take preventive action, because obviously there's going to be a reaction from there. Therefore, you've got to prepare to be able to receive that reaction. Then you have to open yet another small little area, small little front to retaliate. So these are minor tactical issues which I don't think we can discuss on the television, or I can explain, because it's not possible to really explain those issues. But what is certainly there, that yes, the Indian Army has a method in this madness. They work out a plan, they do their ammunition dumping, as we call it. They move up their guns from A to B and continue these activities.
Lieutenant General Prasad, thank you so much for joining us with your expert comments on this strike, this punitive strike that India has conducted in the Nowshera sector on Pakistani post. I'm also being joined by Major General Afsar Karim for more on this. What the video that you see on the screens right now, all across your expert reaction on the kind of operation and the effects this sort of an operation has on the enemy.
I think it is the right action, because it is an offensive action across the LC, and this is to preempt and prevent attacks coming into or infiltration coming into. So what reaction they can have is to build some more somewhere else, but that's much later. We have to watch what reaction they have elsewhere as a retaliatory action. But otherwise, I think this is a very positive action against infiltration and terrorists.
Sir, it also shows the resolve of the Indian Army, not only fighting terrorists on who are pushed on our side of the LoC, but pinpointing the positions, the bunkers, the posts on the Pakistani side, which provide them cover fire, which provide them logistical support in anti-India activities.
That shows also good intelligence information, and that's the right step to take, because you are attacking their base instead of when they cross over and all that. And it is, I think, will have a very positive effect on controlling infiltration. Sir,
if I can also, ask you, what sort of a preparation with now our commanders right there on the front lines would be looking at? Because Pakistan is rattled. They will, for their domestic purpose, for their audience back home, would try and retaliate. What sort of preparations would now be required from our side to ensure that, not major casualty is taken on our side?
I think whenever action like this is taken, preparation is made beforehand so that retaliatory action can be countered. But where they will take and how well prepared we are, we'll come to know in case they do retaliate. But I'm sure the action to safeguard our interests have been taken.
Thank you so much, Major General Afsar Karim, for joining us with your expert views on this. Let me, former Army Chief General Bikram Singh, thank you so much, sir, for joining us on India Today to share your views. So first of all, sir, the kind of operation, the video that we are seeing of punitive strike by the Indian Army on the Pakistani post on the Nowshera, how would you describe this? How important are strikes like these?
Well, I think let me compliment the Indian Army, firstly, Northern Command and the Army Headquarters, the Chief, for what they have done. These kind of operations, punitive strikes, I'm glad are being put in the public domain because it's very important for the country to know that the soldiers are retaliating. In the past, unfortunately, this kind of a thing was not done. But then today, as you know, the military has a solid political backing. And with that political backing today, as you heard, the statement was given out by the Raksha Mantri when we had the last beheading incident. In that, it was very categorically brought out that, the sacrifice by the soldiers would not go in vain. And the chief had announced it. In other words, the entire operation had a political backing. And with this kind of a thing, I think the morale of the army goes up. And I'm glad that this incident, this entire decimation of the Pakistani post is being today shown on the television to our nation, to our people, let them know what their Indian army is all about. In the past, unfortunately, let me tell you, for every soldier killed, our soldiers have been killing 5 of Pakistanis. But unfortunately, it was never covered. But I'm so happy that your TV channel is covering this and you're showing this. It's good for the morale of the nation, good for morale of the army as well.
So very important point you're making there about the political backing and of course these operations which are now in public domain, the kind of effect they have on the morale of our soldiers. This comes after the beheading of 2 soldiers, just a few weeks back. Now, this punitive action that India has taken, what sort of a message does it send across to Pakistan?
Look, it sends both the tactical, operational, and also at the strategic level the message. Because, strategic in the sense that you have today the political leadership that has, for the second time, supported this kind of, punitive action. So at the political level, the message has gone that enough is enough. We are not going to take any nonsense. Every time you try and infiltrate people or do something, we are going to hit back. And this is what is going to happen. Now, earlier, this entire thing used to be left to the army to be done. But this now with the political backing, the message is also going at the political level. It has gone, let me tell you, to Nawaz Sharif, to his political leaders over there. It has gone to the Pakistani army chief, that it is no more, what we saw in the past, that you would hit us and the country would not stand by you. There were a large number of, I would say, vociferous tendencies within the country. People who would, pull down the army for any kind of action of this kind of action that was taken. We had large number of peaceniks who would, start talking of human rights violation and use of excessive force. But I'm glad now the nation is together, in unison, looking at Pakistan and adopting a realistic approach towards Pakistan. And I'm glad, trust me, had this happened 10 years ago, situation in Kashmir would have been different. And you take it from me now, the policy being adopted by the government today at the center is absolutely correct, pragmatic, based on the ground realities, and things are going to improve as the days pass by. We should not bother people talking about human rights violation and things like that. I'm glad, a lot of channels have covered. In fact, I wrote a piece the other day on Major Gogoi, lauding his efforts, what he had done. So I think the government today is very pragmatic. It is realistic. It is holding the hand of the military, which is very important. And I just mentioned some time back that, I treat, morale as a mental armor against the hard knocks of environment. And you know what the people are going through on the line of control and on the CT grid in Jammu and Kashmir. It is also a force multiplier for the army. So morale should never be let down. And my compliments to the government for standing, along with the Indian Army, holding its hand, encouraging the chief, and encouraging Army Commander, Northern Command, and the troops on the line of control and in J&K to carry on doing what they have to do for a righteous cause. And the righteous cause is the security of our nation.
Sir, before we let you... Sir, before we let you go, if I can quickly also, ask you, being an army chief, what sort of preparations would an operation like this would have taken, and the kind of intelligence pinpointing that location and ensuring that it is brought down to the ground so that a strong message is sent across?
Firstly, it's virtually in some places it is eyeball to eyeball deployment. Let me tell you on the line of control. Here you would see that, perhaps the post was about 1 kilometer away at best, or 700 to 800 meters away, or 500 meters away. So what happens is you have the knowledge. You are on daily basis, observing their activity on the post, and you virtually know where their various weapons are deployed, where their commanders lives. You know everything. And plus also, let's be very clear that you have people, who know the area across. Human intelligence is there, so you have these details. Also, let me tell you, for all the contingencies which are there, whether they are at the tactical level or at the operational level, or for that matter at the strategic level. Like, for example, in this case, I think in your channel only said that the very fact that this incident has the political backing, it was a wide spectrum in which the army could have reacted. Right from tactical operation, what you have seen, to perhaps striking at certain targets in strategic or operational depth, because the political leadership had okayed it. But in this case, the chief has decided, along with the Northern Army commander, to go in the tactical depth, that is along the line of control. A correct message has been given, and I think the message has gone at the strategic level, at the operational and tactical level, to all people concerned, that look, enough is enough, and we're going to hit back.
So what would you like to say to those who have been questioning the actions of Major Gogoi, those who have been saying that the government possibly needs to do more as soldiers have lost their life on the line of control? Now, with this, the intent is very clear. Major Gogoi has been recommended for the army chief commendation. The video clearly shows that the army is actively punishing Pakistan for whatever the post for engaging in pushing terrorists on our side.
No, I fully endorse. In fact, I compliment the chief for having given his commendation, to Gogoi. I wrote an article, a piece in the Week magazine on the 7th of this month, wherein I brought out this officer had done a yeoman service to the nation, and the way he's gone about using the presence of mind to make sure the human lives were saved. Whether they were the local stone pelters, they also got saved in that. So, but you made a mention about people, peaceniks who are at the moment, condemning certain actions of the army. I would say that I feel sorry for them. And I think their perhaps perceptions are based on lack of the knowledge of the ground realities. Unfortunately, what I have seen is, having also commanded 15 Corps in Srinagar, what I saw was that most of these people who came down for various studies and, carrying out analysis and making recommendations to the government for strategy for J&K, had no damn clue of the ground realities. They would come, perhaps, meet people, civilians, have Wazwan with them and have all kinds of, enjoyment with them, go back and make a report without even meeting the corps commander, without meeting the military people over there. You've got to take into account what the people on ground feel. And I think the understanding of the ground realities today is very, very clear with the present government. And I think thanks to them, today the morale of the Indian Army is very high. And what the government has passed a message, if you ask me frankly, there are one or two strategic messages the government has passed by supporting Gogoi. Because let me tell you, the Raksha Mantri had gone there the other day to J&K. He lauded the efforts of Gogoi, followed by the chief giving him commendation card. Now, the message that has gone, I think, at the strategic level is to those people who in the past, taking money from Pakistan, being subservient to ISI, have been fabricating false allegations against the Indian Army in the past to put it on the back foot.
Yes.
And this has been going on for a number of years. I'm glad there was a realization on this account, and this message has gone out loud and clear to these people. That look, no more of this nonsense. We are not going to be intimidated by your fabrications, trying to let the army down by creating various stories about the army, what the army has done. And I think here's the boy who did the right thing. I'm glad the government has done this. Also, a message has gone to Pakistan. That look, in the past, you could create mayhem in Kashmir Valley through your terrorists and farm off the entire incident to the military. That is not going to be there anymore. So the messages at the strategic level have gone to Pakistan, to ISI, to Pakistani military, and it's also gone to the people down below who actually have been exploiting the ground realities to their advantage. People who have been taking money from Pakistan to run an industry in Jammu and Kashmir.
General Bikram Singh, thank you so much for sharing your views and perspective here on India Today. Former Army Chief General Bikram Singh speaking about the initiative of the government and the backing that the army is now getting from the political establishment, which is keeping the morale high, and a result is this that you see on your screens. A punitive action, this entire bunker, this entire post in the Nowshera sector in Pakistan destroyed, brought to the ground by the Indian Army. This video has been released by the Indian Army just a while back. We'll also try and once again play for you what the Army's briefing was on this. So the Army not only retaliating on the line of control, punishing Pakistani posts for pushing in terrorists onto the Indian side, giving them cover fire and logistical support, engaging in operations on our side of the border, killing those militants, those who have come in, and on the other hand also coming out and putting this video out for the entire nation to see how the Indian Army punishes Pakistan. These are the visuals of that 24-second video that has been released by the Indian Army. You can see this entire structure of the Pakistani post, concrete bunkers and a concrete structure there on the other side of the LoC in Nowshera, and strike one, strike two, strike three, and continuous strike till the time this entire structure was brought to the ground. A lesson being taught there to the Pakistani side. As the Indian Army has been saying, this action, my colleague Shivarur also telling us a few weeks after two of our Jawans, they were beheaded, and the Indian Army did say the punitive action, the retaliation is going to be at a place and time of their choosing, and look what they have come good on. Lesson for Pakistan and the Pakistani army: the business cannot go on as usual. You can't keep pushing terrorists on our side and expecting no retaliation. Let's once again listen into what Major General Ashok Narula, when he informed about this action to the media.
As part of our counter-terrorism operations, punitive fire assaults across line of control are being undertaken by the Indian Army. Pak Army has been providing support to the armed infiltrators by engaging our forward troops from their weapon emplacements and pillboxes closer to the line of control. At times, they are even not hesitated to target villages in the proximity of line of control. As part of our counter-terrorism strategy, and to ensure that infiltration is curbed, an initiative remains with us. Indian Army proactively dominates line of control. While doing so, locations aiding infiltration of terrorists are being targeted and destroyed to deny advantage to terrorists, thus curbing infiltration attempts. Infiltrations are likely to increase with melting of snow and opening of passes. Operations like Nowshera, where 4 terrorists were neutralized on 20th and 21st of May, are such instances. This calls for even more proactive counter-terrorism operations. We want peace and tranquility in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. For this purpose, it is essential that the infiltrations along line of control are controlled, which is essential to bring down the number of terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir, so that youth of Jammu and Kashmir are not adversely influenced by terrorists from across. A recent action by our troops in Nowshera sector has caused some damage to Pak army posts which are supporting infiltrations. This is part of our overall strategy to counter terrorism.
Let me now go across to former Army Chief General NC, who is joining me on the phone line for more on this. So thank you so much for joining us here on India Today. Your first reaction to this punitive strike that India has conducted on Pakistani posts across the line of control?
I think I'd like to compliment the Northern Command and the Indian Army for their professionalism in carrying and conveying a strong message to Pakistan through this fire assault. I also think it will reassure the public at large and give them the confidence that our army is more than capable of responding to past misadventures in their own style. Normally we do not resort to such things unless we are compelled to do so. And also I must alongside convey our compliments to the government, who deserve absolute kudos in telling the world that through such military response that we will not tolerate terrorism anymore. And whenever there is any misadventure by Pakistan, it will be responded in its own manner.
So this 24-second video that has been released by the Indian Army clearly shows a concrete, position of the Pakistani side, which has been completely brought to the ground. What sort of, preparations does an operation like this take? And also, if you could tell us the kind of damage that the Pakistani side would have suffered.
No, look, there are two things. Firstly, we have the kind of equipment to pinpoint such targets and be able to resort to firing on them with pinpoint accuracy. There's no doubt about it. And number two, such a target has to be worthwhile. Just destroying any bunker which does not have anything much inside will not be of any use. So it has to be a bunker with something which is important there, maybe the ammunition, maybe things of that kind, which need to be destroyed. So it requires a certain amount of preparation. But we are very capable of carrying out such fire assaults without any doubt.
General Vij, if you could also tell our viewers, what does an operation like this, coming on the back of that misadventure from the Pakistani side, where two of our soldiers were beheaded by the border action team of Pakistan, what does it do to the morale of the soldiers, those who are right there facing the bullets, facing the natural elements along with the terrorists at the LoC?
You're right on that. See, there is a requirement for us to respond to the Pakistani side in our own manner whenever required. And we must do that. It does instill a lot of confidence in the soldiers themselves and also the public at large, which is very important, that the country also understands that this can be done and this is being done. Earlier also actions of this kind were being done, but we never came out on the TV loud and clear. Now it is the government policy that we will tell the other side that we are capable of doing such things and we will be able to respond, and we will definitely respond. So it is good for everybody's morale and it does instill a lot of confidence in everybody.
Sir, you're talking about this entire change in strategy, of course, backed by the government of the army coming out in open and speaking about this sort of an action, releasing video, talking to the media. Post-surgical strike, this has been the second time a senior army officer has come out, given details of an operation of this sort. How do you see this change in strategy?
No, very good. Very good. I'm so glad that we are doing these things and telling the other side and also the world at large that India, which has been subjected to this kind of a proxy war for last 25 years plus, will not tolerate it any further. So to that extent, I think it's a very good idea and it is best to put out our policy in public.
Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us here on India Today. General NC Vij, former army chief, hailing the government's change in strategy of bringing out such videos of getting the army to come out and speak to the media, tell the country of the kind of operation that they are undertaking, and along with that, also sending a message or to the other side of the border in Pakistan that such nonsense will not be tolerated, and they will be shamed. Not only they will be punished, they will be shamed all across the globe. Let's just once again take a look at this video that the army has released. This is the Jammu and Kashmir's LoC, the Nowshera sector at the LoC, and this video clearly shows how this entire concrete structure that you see here has been razed to ground. Strike number one on this entire, it's a big complex, a big concrete complex on the other side of the border. You see the initial strike from the Indian side, a big strike number two that shows this ball of fire coming through this concrete structure, and a complete cloud of dust. A big bang, a strike number three that you see now, and it continues. Strike number four with a bowl with this entire flash and fire that side, and it will continue. 5, 6, 8, 11 strikes from the Indian army that has raised this entire structure to the ground. A strong message being sent across to Pakistan.